Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Southern Gal True Crime. I share missing persons, cold cases, and true crime in the news. Today, I have a special cold case missing persons video for you today. I will be sharing 7 cold cases from 2010. So let's get started. Georgia Nadine Kirk went missing on January 1st, 2010 from Bonanza, Oregon. She was a white female, 98 years old, 5 foot, 110 pounds. Georgia had suffered a series of strokes between 2004 and 2010. She had gray hair, hazel eyes. She went by her middle name, Nadine, and most accounts refer to her by that name. Nadine lived in Bonanza, Oregon with her son, Theodore Martin Ted Kirk, at the time of her disappearance. In June 2015, friends notified the police that they hadn't seen her since 2010, and they thought that she may be deceased and that Theodore might be cashing her social security checks for himself. When authorities went to the Kirk residence, Theodore told them his mother had gone to California with a friend in late May or early June, riding in a blue and gray 4-door sedan of Japanese make with California license plates. He claimed he could not remember who Nadine's companion was, but later produced the person's name. Police searched for Nadine and her supposed companion in California, but found no trace of them. During a search of the Kirk property in 2017, cadaver dogs alerted in a specific area on the east side, the same place where a neighbor reported having seen a pile of lime. Investigators did dig up the area, but the dig turned up no evidence. The last record of Nadine's financial activity was a check she signed in January 2010. Since then, there has been no activity on her or Theodore's accounts that was suggestive of an elderly woman, such as payments for medical expenses. Theodore kept a detailed calendar where he recorded a series of strokes Nadine suffered between 2004 and 2010. The last time the calendar mentioned strokes, Theodore wrote Nadine had 2 strokes in 3 days. After this entry, the calendar never mentioned Nadine again. In August 2017, Theodore was charged with stealing Nadine's Social Security benefits between 2010 and 2015. Over $81,000 worth of benefits were paid into their joint account over the 5 years, and her son was financially dependent on his mother's income. His last reported earnings were in 1980. In June 2018, Theodore pleaded guilty to 1 count of theft of government funds. He was sentenced to 15 months in federal prison and 3 years supervised release. He will also have to pay over $30,000 in restitution. Investigators do not believe Nadine is still alive, but no one has been charged in her disappearance, and her case remains unsolved. So if you have any information regarding Nadine or her disappearance, please contact the Klamath County Sheriff's Office at 541-883-8150. Patrick Kennedy Alford Jr. went missing on January 22nd, 2010 from Brooklyn, New York. He is a biracial black Hispanic male, 7 years old, 4'8", 65 pounds. He was last seen wearing a blue jacket, a red t-shirt, blue jeans, and black and white Michael Jordan sneakers. Patrick suffered from attention deficit hyperactive disorder, but he wasn't taking medication at the time of his disappearance. He was showing signs of emotional problems and had been recommended for a psychiatric evaluation and possible treatment, but this hadn't yet happened by the time he went missing. He had black hair, brown eyes. Patrick has a scar on his left eyebrow and a birthmark on his abdomen. His nickname is Lil P, and he is of Puerto Rican descent. Patrick was last seen in the New York City borough of Brooklyn at approximately 9 p.m. on January 22nd, 2010. He had been placed in a foster home in the Spring Creek Development Complex, also known as Starrett City, 3 weeks before. The Spring Creek Development is in the 100 block of Vandalia Avenue. Patrick told his foster mother, Labrada Moran, that he planned to run away to rejoin his biological mother, Jennifer Rodrigues. Patrick was last seen assisting Moran with household chores. He took out the trash and never came back, and he has never been heard from again. Rodrigues, who lives in the New York City borough of Staten Island, lost custody of Patrick and his 4-year-old sister for alleged neglect. She reportedly knew the address of his foster home, and her aunt claimed she had threatened to kidnap Patrick. A few days after Patrick's disappearance, a judge ordered her to present her son at a family court hearing. Rodrigues did not do so, stating she did not have Patrick and did not know his whereabouts. She was briefly jailed for contempt, then released after she passed a polygraph test. She still maintains her innocence in her son's disappearance, stating that she believed he ran away and is hiding somewhere. Various other members of Patrick's family, including people as far away as Maryland and Florida, have been investigated in his case. Several of Patrick's relatives have accused each other of hiding him. In October 2010, Rodrigues filed a federal lawsuit against New York City, the Administration for Children's Services, Patrick's foster mother, and the foster parents' apartment complex. She alleged that the ACS took Patrick from her custody without sufficient cause, and that they were negligent when they placed him in an unfit foster home instead of with relatives such as his father. Rodrigues alleged that Moran couldn't communicate with Patrick because she did not speak English and he did not speak Spanish, and that Patrick had repeatedly tried to run away, attacked his foster siblings, and even threatened to harm himself after he was placed in Moran's home. A federal judge threw out the suit in March of 2011, but ruled that Rodrigues could sue individual caseworkers and St. Vincent Services, the child care agency in charge of Patrick's case. In 2013, Rodrigues amended her filing to include a claim for her son's wrongful death. She stated that she filed the suit to get answers in her son's disappearance. The suit was settled for $6 million in August of 2018. The money will be used to aid in the search for Patrick and to benefit him if he is located alive. Patrick may still be in the Brooklyn area and his case remains unsolved. If you have any information regarding Patrick or his case, please contact the New York Police Department at 718-827-3551. Joan Renee Cook went missing on January 24th, 2010 from Salem, Virginia. She was a white female, 44 years old, 5'6", 120 pounds. She was last seen wearing a black jacket, a red sweater, blue jeans, low-top Timberland shoes, a gold ring with her initials JRC on her right hand, and a gold watch on her left arm. She had been taking antidepressant medication for years prior to her disappearance. She had brown hair, brown eyes. She may go by her middle name Renee or the nickname Rennie. She has a tattoo of a frog on the small of her back and a tattoo of a flower bracelet on her ankle, and her ears are pierced. Her pinky fingers are both bent inward at the last joint. Joan was last seen walking away from her husband's home on Elderwood Road in Salem, Virginia at 11 p.m. on January 24, 2010. She was en route to a friend's house, but the friend was not home at the time, and it is unclear whether she ever arrived there. Joan had been married for 22 years by the time she went missing, but her marriage was troubled, and she and her husband Mike were separated. Mike had initially moved to Iowa in 2007 to find a job, with the plan being for his wife and daughter to join him there later. Joan began seeing another man while her husband was gone, and when Mike found out, he returned to Virginia. According to Joan's sister, Mike stalked Joan and her boyfriend, but didn't actually make threats against them. By the time she disappeared, Joan was living with her boyfriend and planned to divorce Mike when finances allowed. Her boyfriend had visitation with his daughter every other weekend, and during those times, Joan would stay with her husband and their daughter. It was on one of the visitation weekends while Joan was with her husband that she disappeared. Mike said Joan behaved normally that night before leaving the house at 11 p.m. and never came back. The last contact with her was a cell phone text message sent to the friend she was supposedly going to see the night of her disappearance, sent at 5 a.m. on January 26th. The text simply said, "I love you." At the time, Joan was at the 3rd Salem exit southbound on Interstate 81. Mike reported her missing on January 31st. A search of Mike's home turned up no evidence of foul play, and the couple's daughter, then 7 years old, said that she had not heard anything unusual that night. Mike took the child and moved back to Iowa after Joan went missing. Joan's boyfriend was ruled out as a suspect in her case because he was visiting his daughter out of town that weekend. It is uncharacteristic of Joan to leave without warning and abandon her young daughter. She was carrying a purse, wallet, house keys, a green duffel bag containing clothing and makeup, and a beige toiletries bag at the time of her disappearance. Since she went missing, her cell phone and bank accounts have not been used. Police believe someone close to Joan knows what happens to her, and her case remains unsolved. If you have any information regarding Joan or her case, please contact the Roanoke County Police Department at 540-562-3265. Angela Renee Jeromeo were missing on January 23, 2010 from Dallas, Texas. She is an Hispanic female, 16 years old, 5'8" and 190 pounds. She was last seen wearing a gray hooded Hollister sweatshirt, light colored blue jeans, black Vans shoes, and handmade jewelry. She has black hair, brown eyes. Her nickname is Angie. Her tongue and lower lip are pierced. Her ears are double pierced, and she has braces on her teeth and scars on her knees. 2 sections of her hair at the front are dyed blonde. Angela was last seen in Dallas, Texas on January 23, 2010. She left home at 11:30 p.m. to go to a party at a boy's house. Later, Angela sent a text message to her mother asking for permission to spend the night with a friend, and her mother consented. Angela has never been heard from again. The next day at 9:30 a.m., when her mother tried to call her, she did not answer her cell phone. Angela's mother contacted the friend that she was supposed to have stayed with, and the friend said that she had never shown up. The boy who hosted the party she attended stated Angela left at 2 a.m. Angela was a student at Molina High School at the time of her disappearance. She has 3 younger siblings. She enjoyed school at the time of her disappearance and played soccer and volleyball. Although her case was originally classified as a runaway, authorities now believe foul play may have been involved in her disappearance. Sometime after Angela went missing, authorities found her cell phone in a local park. They stated they also located unspecified evidence that indicated she had been injured. Angela has no history of runaway behavior, and she has not accessed her bank account since she disappeared. Nevertheless, her mother does not believe she is being held against her will. She thinks Angela ran away, quote, to prove a point. There have been some sightings of her in the Dallas area since she went missing, some by people who knew her, but none have been confirmed, and her case remains unsolved. If you have any information regarding Angela or her disappearance, please contact the Dallas County Sheriff's Department at 214-671-4268. Brandon Rodrigues Graves went missing on January 30th, 2010 from Sumter, South Carolina. He is a black male, 24 years old, 5'4", 150 pounds. He was last seen wearing a blue t-shirt over a black thermal shirt, black jeans, and a black baseball cap. Graves suffers from asthma and requires medication to control his condition. He has black hair, brown eyes. His nickname is Peanut. His hair was styled in long dreadlocks at the time of his disappearance. Graves was last seen in Sumter, South Carolina on January 30th, 2010. He lived and worked in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, but had gone to Sumter on a spur-of-the-moment trip to attend Morris College's homecoming. He went to Sebastian's Nightlife, a nightclub in the 3200 block of Broad Street, at 11 p.m. Shortly before midnight, the bouncer asked him to leave because he had become drunk and unruly. Just a few minutes after he was kicked out, Graves tried to re-enter the club. The bouncer refused to let him inside, and security staff escorted him off the property. He may have gone to another club, the Blue Mist, in a white car, but this has not been confirmed. Graves made 2 phone calls in the early hours of the next morning. He called a cousin and a friend, neither of whom answered their phones. He left voicemail messages with both numbers, but his voice was unintelligible, possibly because he was drunk. The last call was between 3:30 and 4 a.m. This was the last time anyone heard from him. After that, his phone went straight to voicemail. Investigators were unable to determine where Graves was when he made his last 2 phone calls. The 2 friends Graves was with the night of his disappearance were both interviewed by police, and one of them passed a polygraph, but the other refused to take the test. Graves' cousin stated that Graves had an argument with that man earlier on January 30th after he showed up at his home unannounced and uninvited and asked to stay. Investigators stated the man was a person of interest in Graves' case, but he hasn't been publicly identified or charged with anything in connection with it. Graves' father was never a part of his life, and his mother passed away when he was 3 years old. His aunt and uncle raised him after that in Little Rock, South Carolina. He attended Morris College for a year before transferring to Coastal Carolina University. He was a trainer for the football team and graduated in December 2008 with a degree in sports management. He does not have a criminal record. He did not associate with substance dealers, and he was well liked with no known enemies. Graves' loved ones stated it is uncharacteristic of him to be out of touch with his family, and though he liked to make spontaneous trips, he always kept his loved ones informed of his whereabouts, and he visited his aunt and uncle every weekend. Authorities believe foul play was involved in Graves' disappearance, and his case remains unsolved. If you have any information regarding this case, please call Sumter County Sheriff's Office at 803-436-2700. Laurel Lee Rogers was last seen on February 1st, 2010 in Port Orange, Florida. She is a white female, 28 years old, 5'7" to 5'10" tall, and 150 to 166 pounds. She was last seen wearing a black hooded zip-up G-unit jacket with a design of a small multicolored G's, a gray or purple long sleeve shirt under a purple short sleeve shirt with a vertical white design on the front, light blue jeans, black sneakers with white trim, a gold 20-inch necklace with 2 rings on it, and rings on all of her fingers. She was carrying a black 9 West purse with silver trim and a magnetic snap closure. Rogers suffered from severe fibromyalgia and lupus. She is in chronic pain and has seizures and kidney problems as a result of her conditions. She is required to take 10 different types of prescription medication every day, and she does not have her medicine with her. Without it, she will eventually suffer multiple organ failure and pass away. Rogers also has a history of prescription substance abuse. She had light brown hair, blue eyes. She has scars on both wrists and several moles on her back. Her ears are pierced. She has substantial bruising and scars on her arms and legs, and her nicknames are Lava and Low. Rogers was last seen home in the 1000 block of Horizon View Boulevard in Port Orange, Florida, between 5:20 and 6 p.m. on February 1st, 2010. Her brother went into the backyard, and when he returned, Rogers was gone. Her brother thought one of her friends had picked her up either at the residence herself or at a nearby convenience store. At 6:43 p.m., one of Rogers' friends got a suspicious call from her cell phone. A man named Jamal spoke to her. According to the signal, the phone was in Newport Richey, Florida at the time. Rogers' phone was never used again and has since been turned off. She has never been heard from again. She left all of her medication behind at home. Rogers has been known to frequent Daytona Beach, Florida, in areas known for substance activity and to use and sell substance prescriptions. Her mother stated that when Rogers' prescription medications could not ease her chronic pain, she sometimes bought substances on the street. Since her disappearance, Rogers hasn't filled any of her prescriptions or used her bank account. Her mother said they were close and kept in regular contact before her disappearance. At the time of her disappearance, Rogers was on probation for a 2009 theft conviction. She had no prior criminal record, and her probation period was scheduled to end in 2012. She is classified as an absconder in addition to being a missing person. It is uncharacteristic of her to leave without warning, and she is believed to be at risk due to the state of her health, and her case remains unsolved. If you have any information on Laurel's case, please contact the Port Orange Police Department at 386-756-7400. Janteyl Danielle Johnson went missing on February 3rd, 2010 from Newark, Delaware. She's a black female, 15 years old, 5'2", 120 pounds. She was last seen a short black ski jacket with a fur-trimmed hood. Janteyl was 5 months pregnant at the time of her disappearance and may be in need of medical attention. She has brown hair, brown eyes. Her hair was in braids at the time of her disappearance, and her ears are pierced. Her nicknames are Jay and Puff. She has a scar on her chin, under her lip, and scars on her legs. She needs eyeglasses or contact lenses, but was not wearing either at the time of her disappearance. Her first name is pronounced Janteyl. Janteyl disappeared from Newark, Delaware on February 3rd, 2010. She left home early that day because she did not feel well. She apparently did arrive at her family's home at Autumn Park Apartments in the 30 block of Winter Haven Drive, but when her brother came to pick her up, she was gone. Her mother reported her missing at 10 p.m. The apartment door was unlocked, and there was no indication of forced entry or a struggle. Nothing was missing, not even Janteyl's eyeglasses, purse, or winter clothes. Her family believes she left the apartment voluntarily, intending to be back soon, but something prevented her from returning. The last call to Janteyl's cell phone was from the father of her unborn child, a 26-year-old man who has not been publicly named, and her phone last pinged near the man's mother's house. This individual has been interviewed by police and hasn't been named as a suspect in her case. Her family stated they had accepted Janteyl's pregnancy and were supportive of her decision to keep the baby, and they do not believe that she ran away from home. She had run away from home one time before, but had returned very quickly. She may still be in the local area, or she may be in Wilmington, Delaware, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, or New York, and she may be in the company of an adult male, and her case remains unsolved. If you have any information about Janteyl's case, please contact the Newcastle County Police Department at 302-395-8171. Please give this video a thumbs up. Share it anywhere and everywhere you can to get this very important information out to as many people as possible. If you have not already, please consider subscribing. Hit the bell, notification bell to all so you'll be notified when I upload new videos or go live. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, please take care of yourselves. Be careful out there and take care of each other.